are live. Hi everyone. Hi chat. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to today's live stream. We already have 88 viewers. Super exciting. Purti has made her attendance. Purti duly noted. Can you confirm my audio? I am on time. Yes, thank you people. I am getting so much dopamine right now because I am on time, waiting for this for a long time. Pranav, yes, so have I been waiting for this. Sonish, what's up? Partha, Khushi, on time OP, thank you. Aditya Sharma, NEET 2020, very easy. Oh, really?
Good.
Uh,
Happy to know that.
yeah,
In a
excellent.
way, but it's also sorry, like if it's easy for everyone, right? So it becomes a little difficult.
Yes.
Okay, anyways, wish you luck.
Yes, I hope that everybody's done well, and yes, I hope everybody gets the seat they want. Isha, Chaitali, welcome. Nikhil, Purti, Lavina, Murtaza, all my familiar faces. It's so nice to see. Paramveer. Okay, we will do one on magic. I have been getting a few requests on that neuroscience of magic, which I think would be very fun to do. Aditya has changed from a total introvert to an ambivert. Aditya, we are going to talk about this because I have gone
We
through
are
the same
totally.
journey. I think we all go through that journey, so we will talk
I've
about
gone
this.
through the ulta journey, extrovert to introvert.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We'll talk about it.
Amazing. Okay. Uh, Voice is okay. Dishant, how are you, Sid? Dishant, thank you for asking. I am excellent. I would like to welcome Dr. Mansi Vora back to the channel.
Hi, Sid. How
Hi,
have you been?
Avansi. I've been doing very well. I've been
On
busy,
a
but
high.
enjoying myself.
Yeah, on a high post the marijuana session.
Yes, on a high since marijuana, which is theoretical, by the way. I mean, it wasn't a practical session.
Okay, no
Yes.
comment.
Okay. We will talk about ambiverts. We will talk about extroverts. All right. All right. Before I start, couple of things. I need everyone to hit the like button. So I have been reading about YouTube algorithms, and
Mm-hmm.
that like button is very important. Hitting that bell icon apparently is very important. So please do that right now. There are 200 people watching. Everybody hit that like button. I don't think there's anybody here who has not subscribed, but if so, then please do subscribe. We are on a very tight schedule of 100k in 2020, and it is going to be impossible, but we are going to try. We are going to try, and if that happens, that'll be amazing. So do what you can to get people to subscribe. Done. We are good to go. Mansi,
Yeah.
let's talk of this. This was one of the most highly anticipated and requested conversation. I'm very excited to finally do this.
So am I. Like I think since the first stream onwards, the whatever suggestions are coming along, I think there has always been a mention of introverts and extroverts, and we were discussing right that why is there so much curiosity about this topic? Like why not just accept it that okay, I'm here or there, like either one.
Yeah.
So why so much urge to know क्या होता है introversion, क्या होता है extroversion, extraversion, either of them,
Yeah.
and why is it so important? So, uh, when, the moment I started thinking about it, I realized that for human beings to understand themselves and to understand others is so important. When you try to understand yourself, you actually try to see where you fit in, where you belong, and it's because we really want to know if I'm there, if I'm like in either of the groups, or if I'm there somewhere, is there some place where there are people like me and where I could feel familiar and not threatened? And why you would want to, I mean, if you've thought about it, even as a child or as a grown up, like even though you may not have known much about personalities, but you still tend to draw a character of someone you've known or someone you meet. You try to create an image in your mind about how that person would be, whether that person would be easygoing, friendly, or whether
Hmm.
that person is someone who you feel a little scared around, uncomfortable around.
Right. The uh, when we talk about this introversion and extroversion, it is something that we all instinctively know कि हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं. So as soon as I say I'm an introvert, people will form a caricature of me. People will form a image of me कि okay, this is somebody who doesn't talk much, खुद के साथ रहता है, उसको ज़्यादा he doesn't want to go out and talk to more people. And if I say I'm an extrovert, suddenly the image that they have is very different.
Totally different.
Outgoing, very comfortable in public places, doesn't have anxiety, all of those things. The thing that has bothered me from the start about this is that it is a binary. And as soon as we say something is binary, are you an introvert or an extrovert, I feel that we are missing out on a lot of things, right? So that is one thing I really want to explore. कि introvert and extrovert nice heads or tails वाला concept है, but then what does that mean? What does introvert and extrovert mean, and what are we missing out on? Because पक्का ये oversimplification ही होगा.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So tell me when you say introvert extrovert, traditionally क्या मतलब है? What does it mean from a psychology perspective?
Right. So I complete the thought that I was on.
Yeah.
So why would we want to immediately typify people, immediately, like very, very subconsciously, not just ourselves, but we immediately try to gauge the other person.
Yeah.
So, what basically, when we say anything like introvert, extrovert, or he's a rude person, or whatever, all the adjectives that we put onto someone, basically we are trying to look for patterns in someone else's behavior. We are looking for some sort of consistencies so that we try to understand them a little better and we anticipate their behavior a little bit, so that you can plan out a little beforehand. You can check your resources, and you're like, okay, I think this person I can go to for this person I can't go to for this.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, even from an evolutionary perspective, it has so much importance to you, because that tells you this person would be an aid in a such kind of task, and this person would not be a help, stuff like that. So I think from there, this whole instinct to immediately categorize or try and understand the other person is rooted right over there in evolution. Sid, are you there, or are you thinking like
No, I'm totally there, because what you said makes a lot of sense, that it is all about boxing people. Like you box people into in this situation I will go to this person, in this situation I'll go to and for that you need to have some sort of classification.
Right.
And I can guess why this whole system came about, that we will divide people into these types. Right.
Very true.
Correct.
So now going on to, so when we talk about personality, so when you try to categorize people based on how they act, what they talk, how how their presence feels like to you, all of that is basically trying to assess their personality. So when we talk about personality and the theories that talk about personality, there are way too many theories and there are way too many methods based on which people tried to categorize people. I'll probably talk a little bit about that, but let's just immediately talk about introversion and extroversion, because I know everyone must be waiting for that.
Yeah.
So
myself included.
Yes. So I want to know, what do you understand when I say that? Okay, X is an introvert. What is the immediate image that comes to your mind?
Like I said, I feel that okay, if X is an introvert, then X, it means that I won't be seeing much of X if in public. I will be meeting X probably in more private settings, in one-on-one conversations. I feel that X would be more comfortable in that situation. I won't be running into X at parties, at clubs. That is my primary assumption. It also feels bad to just assume something about somebody without knowing anything else. But just from the word introvert, that is what I will conclude. Rightly or wrongly. Yeah.
And let's say wherever you, okay, for instance, you bumped into this person somehow in a party.
Yeah.
How do you think this person would come across?
Uncomfortable. If I feel that X is an introvert and I see X at a party, I will immediately be looking out for signs of anxiety. Are they fidgety? Are they looking forward to just getting back home, getting back to their comfort zone?
Right. Okay, so it's amazing what you said, because it also clears a lot of things here. Like, it tells me what I also need to classify and what I also need to clarify.
Yeah.
So Well, as much as you're true when we talk about the general perception of the word introvert, but introvert basically means someone like the first time it was used by Carl Jung. It's actually Carl Jung. Okay, so Carl
Oh,
Jung said that
oh God,
introverts.
really? It's not
It's okay.
young. Okay.
Introverts. Uh, no, he wasn't young. So introverts are the people who like to direct energy inwards,
Mm-hmm.
and extroverts are the people who like to direct energy outwards. So
Okay.
introverts would be, according to him, introverts would be the people who would like to reflect on themselves, who would prefer solitude, who would prefer to utilize their energies doing things by themselves, and having an inner process going on. Whereas extroverts would engage more of in external gratification, and their
Mm.
energies are flowing externally. Like they don't direct it inwards, but they rather direct it outwards. Well,
Mm.
when Carl Jung spoke about it, he actually spoke about the mental energies. Now, the subsequent theorists came a little ahead and they said that it's also true for the physical energies. Like someone who's an introvert would probably not be extremely adventurous. Probably. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like you said, binaries are never right. Like
Right.
binaries are oversimplification. Not everything is going to fit in once you say,
Yeah.
describe things as binaries. So they said that they actually maybe, they like to read, they like to go back to watching movies alone or stuff like that, wherever they think their growth is going to happen. They like this whole process of self reflection, being by themselves, a little bit of dim lighting, and all of that. Whereas extroverts will like a well lit place or where there are a lot of people, and they derive energy from conversations, and they
Mm.
derive energy from meeting new people, introducing themselves, adventurous, outgoing, energetic.
Right. I like when you say energy, uh, because the way I see it, I think that you're almost it's like you're talking about attention. So we have to spend a lot of energy on attention. So whatever you're paying attention to, it is not a easy thing to do.
Not
Paying attention,
passive,
it's
it's
not passive.
active.
Yes. So whenever you're doing an active process, it is an energy expenditure inducing process. So whenever you're paying attention outside to other people, you're spending energy. And if you're spending energy on yourself, you're paying attention to yourself. Both of them take energy. So when you're
Yes.
saying gain and give out energy, I'm thinking of attention. I don't know if that is correct, but yes.
Yes, I mean, they haven't spoken in terms of attention, but I do understand our understanding of attention or the mental process is also very limited. Like, we
Hmm.
don't know so much about the mental processes that go in, or that keep on happening in our subconscious or our unconscious. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So, yes, but like you said, the energy expenditure, when it happens more outwardly, it's a sign of extraversion. When it happens more inwardly, it's a sign of introversion.
Right.
Is the chat with us? Are there any questions? Is there anything that you might want me to answer from the chat?
Chat. Aditya said that 2020 is a bliss for introverts, which is very true because now everything is a choice. It is. Now everybody is at home. We can assume that everybody is in their comfort zone, and there is a choice now to how much to interact, how many live streams to attend, how many video chats to be participate in. So Ajay Jha said that introverts spend their energy more on overthinking. I'm not sure if, like we spoke about in the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, overthinking is a relative concept. What is overthinking and what is thinking? So
So,
yes.
all thinkers are overthinkers. Would you call that a bad thing? Like all the social reformers, all scientists,
Yeah.
philosophers, they are overthinkers. So, I think overthinking is emotional overthinking may be a problem, like
Yeah.
sensitivity may be a problem.
Hmm.
But if you have your emotions within, the right range, I think overthinking is a blessing.
Probably overthinking is what led to most discoveries and most new insights
Absolutely.
because
If
they
you
had
were to
no job
accept
thinking so
things,
much anyway.
right, if you accept things as they are, you never make progress. You
Yes.
have to think about it, why this and why not that. So
Correct.
yeah,
Somebody has to, so that the rest of
somebody has to
the rest of society can relax. Somebody has to overthink.
can benefit. Yes.
Okay, amazing. Introverts don't want to fit in, depends on a particular person, Arthia said. Yes, it's so definitely. I think throughout this psychology stream, uh, subjectivity is a huge factor because everybody has. It's like it's like to use a metaphor, it's like paints and colors. So everybody can mix those same colors in different ways and you can come up with different shades. So I think there are infinite ways of mixing colors and infinite ways of people mixing all these different things.
Very true, very
Yeah.
true. So someone in one of the previous streams had said that is shyness uh, introverts. I mean,
Yeah.
are introverts shy?
Hmm.
And I remember saying that no, introversion is a choice. They choose to be by themselves. Now, it's not a choice that is made very rationally.
Hmm.
It's a choice that is forced, or it's something that is forced on them.
Hmm.
But they are not in distress because they are at home.
Yeah.
A shy person. So we'll come to that. We'll
Yeah.
definitely come to that, maybe
Yeah.
a little later.
Sure.
So now there's a new modern concept of introverts, extroverts, and ambiverts.
Yes, I've heard of this. Yeah.
So yes, so ambiverts is someone whose behavior is somewhere between introversion and extroversion, which means that his energy levels could be not so much as an introvert, but not so much even as an extrovert, or
Mm-hmm.
who can be sociable when he wants to, or who can feel like in a certain set of environment. So, you know how we talk about people who otherwise are very introverted to the external world, but in their own set of friends, 10, 20, 25 people,
True.
they are totally different people. Now,
Yeah.
these would be the ambiverts.
Hmm.
So,
Oh, is that
if
what
they,
ambivert means?
yeah,
Acha.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So in their comfort zone, they're extroverts, and outside their comfort
yes.
zone. Okay, got it. I always
So the
thought
point,
ambiverts were somebody who are comfortable in both situations.
yes, yes. So now this person has the capacity to be comfortable anywhere. This
Hmm.
whoever we're talking about,
Hmm.
not specifically so. An introvert will probably be introvert in any given environment. But even if he's in 25 people, he cannot still generate a lot of energy to become that kind of a chirpy person as an extrovert.
Hmm.
So ambivert has the capacity to be comfortable whenever he feels comfortable.
Hmm. Okay.
I don't know if I'm making sense. Like, is
Yeah.
it coming across?
I think that even when we think of um different situations in our own life, I think we can think of us being introverted in different times and extroverted in different times. So it's very difficult even to box ourselves in, forget other people,
Very true.
right? So Aditya just said that I'm an extrovert when drunk, and I think this is a very, very common
No, I
situation.
think I think that's an altogether different thing. I mean, I think anyone would be an extrovert when drunk, but yeah, there's a
But
total neuro.
that is super fascinating because being an extrovert when drunk means that personality is chemical locha, because when alcohol goes in and those GABA receptors are inhibited, that means or rather GABA receptors are excited, then that means that there are different ways in which chemicals can change your personality.
Absolutely. So we'll come to that. We'll definitely come to that. Why someone is an introvert, why someone is an extrovert,
Right.
why someone is an ambivert. Now, there's also a term called omnivert.
Oh wow.
Honestly, these weren't there in the original classifications. I think these are just fancy terms that have just been coming along. So omnivert is someone who can, based on the situation, act as an extrovert or an introvert. So
Okay.
an ambivert will be comfortable in a certain situation, but his energy levels will. Ambivert is like precisely introvert or extrovert के बीच में.
Okay.
But omnivert can actually oscillate between the two spectrums.
Ah,
Like
I think
this
that
end
is
to that
that
end.
seems more uh, normal to me, because like
Should be
one
that way.
person isn't one thing at all times. We keep changing, uh, and now I feel that is normal. मुझे लग रहा है वही है. If you are very rigid about नहीं, I am an extrovert, मतलब I'll be an extrovert all day every day with everybody. I don't, somehow I feel that the more natural ways flow. Like you flow from, because your mood changes, your circumstances change. So you can't always be an introvert. You can't always be an extrovert. So omnivert sounds awesome.
Right, the ideal type that you would want to be,
Yeah.
omnivore.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, continuing what you said, I believe that everything, like whether it's the principles you follow, everything, it shouldn't be that you can't do it. It should rather be you can do it. You choose where to do it and where not to do it. Even the
Hmm.
right things in life, the wrong things in life, I think choosing is way more powerful than being incapable of doing something.
Yeah.
Like not having the capacity to be an extrovert, fine, then I think then it's almost like a flaw. But having the capacity to be on either side and choosing where to be is very powerful. It's like a profound place to be at.
I agree. Absolutely. It's like, are you? Is it causing you anxiety? Is it making you uncomfortable?
Is it
Right?
distressing?
Is it distressing you? Hmm.
Hmm.
If it is, then maybe that is something that you should work on.
Work on, yes,
Okay.
certainly,
I think we will
certainly.
talk about this part towards the end, where we try and figure out how to practically use this
How to,
information in our life.
right, right, true that.
Amazing.
So now coming to uh, why are introverts and why are extroverts? Like, is there just an external appearance of a certain differentiation that okay, this is this and this is that, or genuinely are there any bodily experiences that are very different that make them what they are? So first of all, like when before I go to that, we have to understand that everyone, all of us, we don't have everything that an introvert would have, or we don't have everything that an extrovert would
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
And personality does not mean that okay, if I have certain 20 characteristics that describe my personality, it does not mean that that makes the whole of Mansi Vora. No, you would have 100 characteristics. It's the ones that predominate in your behavior. It's the
Hmm.
ones that have persistently been displayed across time, across situations.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that dominate you, and those are the ones that make your personality or your character.
Yeah.
To
Consistent
simple,
traits.
or should I say consistent traits? Yes,
Right.
yes.
So things that are sort of withstanding the test of time. It's not that एक दिन तुम्हारा mood खराब है, you behaved in a particular way, that became your personality. It's not like that. So things that are consistent across time,
Consistently
yeah,
shown.
that is what define.
That makes you right.
So this is very interesting, because then it's hard to say in children.
Yeah, that's why we don't check. We never say what is the personality of your child. Like when I do that in my
Hmm.
OPD as a psychiatrist, I ask them what's the temperament of your child. And the easiest way to describe a temperament is easy to warm up, difficult to warm up, and moderate. Like someone who is beach based. So some children easy to warm up means in a particular setting they'll quickly become friends with other people, and if
Right.
there's a teamwork going on, they'll quickly go and participate. If there's a magician showing a magic show in a birthday party, they'll go and they'll volunteer. The difficult to warm up would be the ones who are very reclusive and like, who are in one corner, and the mother has to kind of you know,
Yeah,
force the
like
child,
keep
coax
encouraging,
the
जाके
child.
कर ले, हाँ
Yes,
हाँ.
yes, yes. So now this is how we try to understand. It has a lot of other criteria, but your personality is very, very dynamic till you are of the age of 16. It
Okay.
only starts becoming a lot more by dynamic. I mean, it keeps on changing, keeps on evolving.
Hmm.
Till then, the characteristics haven't really gotten consolidated. It's only after 16 that those traits really become very strongly a part of you.
That is so fascinating, because it's almost like the child is trying out different personalities. Like in some places, he'll try out, okay, let's try being enthusiastic for something. And if that works, then that neural network will get coded a little stronger. कि अच्छा चलो ये अच्छा
Very
है.
true.
And if
Very
that
true.
doesn't work, and the child is super embarrassed by exposing his talents or whatever, then they will, the next time they may not expose themselves so much. They'll say, okay, let's
So,
hide. Yeah.
right. So this brings us to nature and nurture. Genetic predisposition, your heredity, what you get from your parents is extremely important. But let's say someone comes from a very, very extroverted family or has very extroverted genes, so that person would have a tendency to be an extrovert. But
Hmm.
if he's not in the right environment where this whole super energetic behavior, talkative behavior is not encouraged, then a lot of it will be distressing for the child because he did not get the appropriate response that he expected. and then the child will will have a lot of unruly behavior because he has certain genetics, but the nature and the nurture does not allow that
Yeah.
to happen. The child's personality is not developed very well.
Yeah. There are, I mean, if we sit and actually work it out, I'm sure it is possible to uh, try and understand all the variables that do go into what makes a person the way they are. But the only challenge is the number of variables, and we try to keep
Finite.
making it, yeah, infinite. So we try to make it simple binary so that it is easy for us to figure out. We like
Get
comfortable things.
somewhere. Right.
Exactly. But of course, it is much more complex than that. So Mangesh has just shared something that is personally, um, he's going through personally. He's seen his friends who are not as smart as him getting in relationships with good looking people. I miss out on a lot because he's an extrovert. Does extroversion make you better at dating, Mansi?
So he's saying he's an extrovert.
No, he's saying he's an introvert.
He's an introvert. Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah. So unfortunately, I think introverts would make you good people. Like introverts would also be good partners. I don't want to unnecessarily label them, but I do think that extroverts in general are very sociable. They are very energetic. Uh, they they are pleasant to be around.
Mm,
So I think it's easier for them. I
mm,
mean, it's also very easy for them to go out and introduce themselves, and they are more, active in social circuits. So it's easy for them to find someone,
mm.
which does not mean that they would definitely be good boyfriends or good girlfriends, but they can just find someone easily. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
it is super interesting this question because different stages of a relationship. Let's Since we're talking of relationship, let's talk about it. Different stages of a relationship require different things,
Absolutely.
and so initially, for that initial contact, you need someone to be approachable. So if somebody is very much in their shell, how do you reach them?
How do
So
you reach them?
for
How do you break the ice?
how do you
How do you
break the
even
ice?
know what they are?
Correct. So there probably extroversion helps.
Yes.
Later on, when you are spending time with them alone and you want them to be there and in the conversation, introversion might be a good thing because they are very comfortable in a small environment. They're very comfortable spending a lot of time just talking one on one.
Right.
And
Right.
there, an extrovert might not be very comfortable. They might want to keep going out, meeting friends.
Right.
So for a good relationship, you kind of need to be both at different
Yes,
times.
you have to. So you need to be an omnivore. You need to know where I need to be an extrovert and where I need to be an introvert. But I think being
Amazing.
an omnivore is a tough thing. I don't think it's very easy.
Yeah.
So now this introvert extrovert thing after Carl Jung, it was uh, H. Eysenck. Okay, there was this theorist called
What's the spelling?
Eysenck. It's pronounced
E
as
Y S E
Eysenck.
S. Okay, fine, fine.
PNCK. Okay, so he was the one who kind of took this whole thing ahead of introversion and extroversion, and he also added a couple of other parameters to that later on. Like it was never just two binary. Like it was never like okay, it's either this or this. They knew that okay, there are a lot of other things beach mein, but this is easy to kind of understand.
Got it.
So there's something really wonderful that he described, which stayed with me, which I think helps us understand personality a lot better. What he said was personality is made up of small sets of personality traits.
Hmm.
Like one big personality would have a lot of small personality traits. Now, these personality traits are actually habitual responses.
Hmm.
What makes a trait a trait? Like, even a trait is not something that is seen only once. Even
Hmm.
a trait is something that is seen constantly,
Yeah.
repeatedly. Like we said, was something that is clear the test of time. So something, a response that is habitually seen in a person, that makes your traits and then that becomes your personality. So
Hmm.
personality is a very complex thing
Hmm.
depending on the kind of situations you've been and on the kind of responses you have to those situations.
Hmm.
Over time, over multiple such experiences, you develop certain traits and those traits then make your personality.
Hmm. I love it. It's is so I have read this thing on the when you said different traits, there was this thing on personality. What is that? The ocean principle,
Ocean model, the
ocean model.
five factor
Can
model,
you
yeah.
tell me about that?
Right. So how do you like what are the basic universal criteria or basic universal principles that kind of help you differentiate people and that are universally used as a basis to understand someone's behavior? So the acronym is ocean. Ocean is openness, which means that you have an openness to new experiences,
Hmm.
which means that is someone very cautious when trying to do something new, or is someone very inquisitive, like, okay, I think this is new, let's try. So
Hmm.
that is openness. You seem to relate to that. You have a
Yes.
tendency to have this small little smile the moment I say something that relates to you, which is so
Oh
easy to,
God.
I don't know if the chat notices
There's
it,
too
but
much
it is
analysis going on, right?
you brought this on yourself. You got a psychiatrist on your channel.
Yeah.
Live with it.
What was I thinking?
The intuitive part. So you smile at that anyway. So then you have the conscientiousness, which means that are you someone who's very organized? Are you someone who's very principled, or are you someone who's very careless and very messy and who does not have the sense of right and wrong?
Hmm.
E is extraversion, which means that are you an introverted person or are you an extroverted person? A is agreeableness, which means are you easy, friendly, and do you become a part of a team easily? Or are you a challenging person? Like it's difficult to be around you, it's difficult to make you do things.
Okay.
And N is neuroticism. Are you uh, distressed easily? Do you have a
Easily.
good threshold to handle stress and pressures?
Right. I read about this, and one we won't go too deep into personality. I know a few people were asking about MBTI and different
Hmm.
ways of personality testing.
Hmm. Hmm.
I decided that we won't go too deep into that because I think that is a separate conversation altogether.
Right,
But
right,
since we were talking of extraversion and by the way, it was earlier called as extra version and then it sort of became extroversion throughout somewhere along the way. I
yeah.
think Carl
So
Jung
it's
described as extra,
extraversion. Yes,
right?
yes,
But since we are talking about that, and that is a part of this one of the five fundamental dimensions of personality, I thought we could talk about it for 2 minutes. And the five dimensions that you spoke of, they are sort of headings, and
right,
each one is a spectrum. So you can go from 0 to 100 in each one,
right.
and the extremes of each one are like complete opposite people, but usually people will fit in somewhere along the way in each of those personality types,
True. Yes,
right? So
right, right.
extraversion का absolute zero में you will have zero extraversion, मतलब एकदम
Right.
introvert,
Introversion. Right,
right? And absolute extrovert मतलब you will completely be outgoing all the
right.
time.
Yes,
Neuroticism complete zero मतलब you have you are very calm, very secure, कोई stress नहीं है. And absolute on the other end is full anxiety, like you're
anxious all the time.
all the time. Conscientiousness zero मतलब no conscientiousness, जो मन में आया करो, impulsive,
Right,
no discipline.
right,
And on
right.
the other end is absolutely conscientious, full
Over
hardworking,
cautious.
over
Right,
cautious, पूरा
right,
dependable, but then कुछ ज़्यादा ही है.
right.
Uh,
Too organized and all of
too
that.
organized, right. And what are the other two? Openness. Op-
Openness.
Absolute zero मतलब not at all trusting, मतलब very uncooperative, not at all open.
No, that is an agreeableness. Openness is openness to new experiences.
Okay, like that. Okay.
So at zero, you will have someone who's like, no, I'm only gonna do what I know. I cannot try anything new. And
Hmm.
at the other spec end, like on at 100, you will have someone who's so adventurous, almost reckless, almost fearless. Like
Right.
he'll do everything that comes his way without even trying to weigh if it makes sense to do it.
Yeah. Keeps wanting to try new experiences without really
Yes,
thinking about the
novelty
consequences.
seeking. Yeah, novelty seeking. And
Yeah.
that is agreeableness, what you said. So someone who's agreeable, like at zero, it would be someone who's not at all good, like just keeps on opposing anything that is said,
Hmm.
just does not want to be a part of anything, does not want to be a part of the society.
Huh.
And at 100, it would be someone who's, and let's be sure, I mean, we are not necessarily talking about all the pathological things here. Like when we talk about anti-social and this and that, वो सब इसमें से नहीं किया जाता है.
Hmm.
उसका
That
अलग
is different.
classification होता
Right.
है. Yes.
Right.
So let's not label it that way. But someone who's at 100 will be very easygoing. Like it would, you know, how you meet people in local trains or people when you travel long distance or on flights. They're the first ones to have a conversation with you, and they'll, you know, so
Got
they're
it.
the
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that
You
will
know
come
the.
and sit here and have a chat. You know, those kind of people.
Yeah,
So yeah.
you're trying to read a book and they'll be like, अच्छा क्या पढ़ रहे हो? अच्छा कहाँ जा रहे हो
Right,
तुम?
right. The typical, you know, bubbly girls shown in Hindi movies, stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah, sure. We have. I mean, there are both men and women who have done that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chat, are
Yes.
you with us? What do you think about this? Arun Dev has said, is there a bias where people, more people think they're introverts than extroverts, or is it only me who see this around me? Do more people think they're introverts than extroverts? Interesting question.
More
I
people think they're introverts.
Yeah, is that true?
Okay, so I haven't read about a bias about what people think about themselves, but there is certainly a bias in the society to project that extroverts are happier, extroverts are more
Yes.
successful. Unfortunately, because of various circumstances, there's also data to kind of confirm those, you know, hypotheses.
Mm-hmm.
That and there are reasons for that. We'll come to that. But yeah, I mean, there's a bias in the society. Even your parents will always tell you, "Beta, thoda baat karne seekho, sabke sath hi bye karo," you know. So somehow it is perceived that only extroverts can really make it big, or that is
Mm-hmm.
the quality to have. And introversion is almost perceived as a flaw, which may or may not be completely true. I mean, it really depends on the kind of circumstance you choose to be in.
Yeah, it's also about branding, right? Like more extroverts will go around telling people that they're happy, and introverts will not really tell people they're happy or not. So
Right,
maybe that
right.
also plays a role.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
Mangesh is asked also on the topic of communication. I don't like staying in touch with my GFR friends via phone or facecam all the time because I don't feel comfortable. Okay, Mangesh, I think that is a very subjective thing, and also it's good that you have realized this and you have made it a point. But again, it is
So
so
now that we
different for
are
everyone.
right, so since he asked this question, once again, we need to understand: Are you shy? Are you? Do you have anxiety? I mean, are you social phobic, like for specific
Hmm.
situations, or are you just an introvert? An introvert is not shy. It's not like they can't speak. An introvert is not a person who's uncomfortable around people. An introvert is a person like, okay, so if there's an introvert and if he's at a party, he'll talk a little bit maybe,
Hmm.
but he's not afraid of what people are going to judge him as. At least not initially. Over the years, I think that may happen, but initially, I don't think they're scared of judgment.
Right.
It's just that they get very drained. They're like, okay, this is not meant for me. Let me just go back.
Correct.
Whereas,
Yeah, yeah.
go
Continue
ahead,
your
yeah.
thought. No, no. Continue your thought.
Okay, so whereas a shy person would be someone who actually likes to be around people, who actually wants to be friends with people, but
Hmm.
is not very comfortable, is not very secure about the way he's going to present himself or herself.
Yeah.
And that's why he's shy, which means that he wants to, but he's not doing it. So
Understood.
even the English word shy means that there's something you're supposed to, but you can't. Like you don't. So that
Correct.
is someone who's shy. Whereas an introvert is not very scared of how people will judge him, or is not scared of how he'll be perceived.
It's so interesting because from the outside, it may all look the same, but introversion, shyness, social anxiety, social phobia, if you put this on a spectrum, none of them wants to sort of be in public, but then the reasons and the effect it is having on their mental state is very different.
Right.
So
Right.
it's sort of the how much is it affecting your peace of mind if you are in public
On the distress scale,
on the
like
distress scale. Yeah.
the distress will define what and the reason of your distress.
Hmm.
So, if you force an introvert to be in a social environment, he will also be distressed. But the distress is not that how will I be perceived? The distress is that okay, I think I just feel too exhausted being here. His
Hmm.
brain gets drained. So we'll talk about it.
Energy.
Yeah, the energy.
Correct.
So what is said is that why are introverts is because we have a reticular activating system in our brain, right? Are you going to cover this, Siddharth, or do you want me to quickly talk about it a little bit?
Talk about what exactly?
The neuroscience bit, does it have the RAS? Does it have the dopamine?
So I thought that we could talk about introverts, extroverts specifically, and then we can cover because that will touch upon all the personality types a little bit. So we
Okay,
can we
okay.
can do that in a little while.
I'll quickly talk about the neurochemicals and you explain that a
Okay,
little in
perfect.
detail,
Yeah, yeah, cool,
the
cool.
neuroscience bit.
Done.
So what happens is, and what Async again proposed is that introverts, their reticular activating system, that we have this RAS in our brains,
Yeah.
right? So what happens is that their reticular activating system is quite activated even with smallest of stimuli. It's like a little hyperactive. So the moment they are with a lot of people, the moment they are with in a very lit environment, like well lit environment, a lot of conversations happening, a lot of music, what happens is that their brain gets all the more activated, like the RAS, the reticular activating system, it gets too activated, and then they feel very drained because it's too much of a process to handle for their brain. So then their brain says that, okay, now it's enough. I think I need to go back and calm myself a little down.
Yeah.
That's why they choose to be in a calmer environment because it's too much for them.
Yeah.
Whereas an extrovert, his RAS has a very high threshold. मतलब अगर इंट्रोवर्ट दो लोगों के साथ बात करके भी उसको लगता है अब बहुत एक्टिविटी हो रहा है मेरे ब्रेन में, for an extrovert talking to 20 people also may not give him the kind of high that he feels he should get. He'll keep on hopping from people to people trying to activate his RAS, and that's why everyone thinks that, oh wow, he's the life of this party because he just goes and talks to everyone. So so this is the difference.
Yeah.
The extrovert is actually trying to look for activation, whereas the introvert, his brain gets so activated
Too
that he
easily
needs to
activated.
calm down. Yeah, too easily activated.
Yeah.
So it's such a paradox because we might think that
Exactly.
extroverts would be full of energy in their brains and introverts would have lower energies. It's actually the other way around. Introverts have so much energy that they need to get out of that environment to calm themselves down.
Oh wow. I love how you flipped it around.
So did I just drop a bomb? Like we end up dropping bombs in every session, right? Did that
Yeah,
happen?
yeah. No, yeah. So this one is a completely different way of looking at it because it it's like you're talking of sensitivity.
Right.
So even a 5 minute conversation, if it gives you the same amount of kick that a 2 hour conversation would give you, then you don't need to uh,
We get the
exert
two
yourself
hours.
so much. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Again, it's like Aditya talked of alcohol, right? So if there are some people who are set after one drink, and some people need a lot more, but uh, if where you want to go is if you're done in 5 minutes, then it's just like a conversation. You get that kick, and then you're done.
Right, right, right.
Somebody's just asked that. So Phoenix has asked if I'm good on stage but introvert
Hmm.
otherwise. Is that normal? Which is a very
I think
interesting
so.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, because extroverts. So it depends on how you're on stage, like what you're doing on a stage. Now, if the stage has, now these are two very, very different concepts, okay? If the stage has given you, if the stage gives the dopamine hit to your reward center,
Exactly.
immaterial of whether you have two people or 200 people, it's actually just you. For you, the audience is just a set. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how many people are there.
Correct.
So it's you and the other party and the dopamine. That's the reason you're comfortable on stage. So I don't think stage can ever classify people as introverts or extroverts. Like
Mm.
the most shy people, we see so many stand-up comedians. Do you think all of them would be such great people when they are in a group of 10, 15 people? I don't think so. I think all the reflection happens about their own life happens
Yeah.
when they are alone, and
Mm.
stage gives them that place where they don't see faces judging them and they are
It's
just talking.
yeah. It's almost like a personal experience going up
It's
on
almost
stage.
like absolutely, it's a self reflective thing for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
I mean, it's in my own way, from whatever I have experienced being on stage and being in the spotlight, it's really crazy because the spotlight actually blacks out the audience. So you can see vague shapes of people, you know that there are 50, 100, 500 people, but if the spotlight is on you, it's like you are alone with your
Right.
thoughts, and
Right.
you're performing, and the only feedback you get is the sound. You get sounds of claps or
Clap.
finger clicks and all that, but it's almost like a personal experience,
It
which is
is. It is.
such an
It's almost like
irony.
a self-reflective. Yes, you may be performing. So I know this as well. Like when the spotlight is on you, and when there's no lights on the audience, like
Yeah.
they keep it like that purposely. You're blinded. You're practically blinded, and all you're doing is so. It's not a two-way interaction. It's actually a one-way interaction, and that's why you can be a lot more comfortable.
Also, yeah, I mean, we've talked about this once before also, because I feel that everybody has some amount of narcissism.
Hmm.
Again, as a spectrum, too
Hmm.
much is a problem, but too little is also a problem. So a little
True.
bit of narcissism helps if you're on stage, because you feel that everywhere else, I feel that people are looking at me even when they are not. But on stage, you are not imagining it. People are definitely looking at you. So it's,
Definitely looking.
in a way, you're pretty
Yes.
comfortable because now you know that,
Yes.
okay, people are looking. So now you can.
So unless you're forced to be on stage, like if you're forced to be on stage, it's a different story.
Hmm.
But if you choose to go on stage, you have to be narcissistic. You can't be on a stage unless you're narcissistic.
Correct. A little bit. Right. Also, can I just say that in 2020, live streams are the new being on stage.
Yeah, this is the new stage.
This is the new stage because when I first started the first time, my heart rate was through the roof. The first time I went live, and now I'm so much more comfortable. And here it is a two-way thing. It's much more two-way than a normal
Much more,
performance would have
certainly,
been. But
certainly.
now you feel that there is a relationship with the audience,
Right,
and this
right,
is the same even on another stage. If it's a real stage with 1,000 people in front of you, or in this case
right.
392 people in front of you,
Wow.
there is
Okay,
a
that's
there
good.
is a relationship. Whenever you say something, you feel that you are speaking, and the audience develops one personality, which is very, very interesting. They are not 392 different people, they are one person, and the
It's
sum total
one.
of all the people there form one kind of person. So you know that the chat is angry with you, you know the chat is happy with you, so it's
Right,
very
right,
strange.
right.
Yeah, okay, tell
And
me.
that's why this question is amazing because when he said stage and introversion, I think they're totally different things because like I said, like you also said, it's you, it's that set of people who is one now and the dopamine hit. It's just that.
Yeah,
Okay, so anyways, now moving
coming
on to
back.
introverts and extroverts again.
Yeah,
So we spoke about the RAS activation, right?
yeah,
Now we have the dopamine, our ever favorite dopamine. Right? So introverts would get a lot of reward by, like Jung said, when they drive the energy inwards. So when they are reflecting, when they are thinking about something, when they are reading something, that's when they get more of a dopamine hit.
right.
Whereas for an extrovert, the dopamine hit happens by talking to a lot of people, by having that sort of sense of people like me, that reinforcement happens
Hmm.
a lot more faster and a lot more strongly for extroverts. So an extrovert spoke to five people in one party. Everyone went and gave him a feedback. Oh, it was so much fun being around you. Let's do this more frequently. Let's do
Yeah,
this more often.
yeah,
He immediately got a dopamine hit, and now there was a positive reinforcement that when I act in this way, people like it. I should do this more
yeah,
often.
yeah.
So they are more amenable. They are more, what can I say? They are more receptive to positive reinforcement.
Right.
Whereas for an introvert, this loop does not really work as easily as it is for an extrovert. The dopamine hit coming from engaging in other activities apart from yourself and the solitude. So they don't get a dopamine hit, so the loop is not really forming very well. And
Hmm.
that's why they don't enjoy such situations. So here we come to know that the brain, the RAS is the nature, the dopamine is again the nature, but the reinforcement is actually the nurture.
Nurture.
You don't get so much reinforcement. So throughout your nurture, you don't really value the experience so
Yeah,
much because it never gave you so much reward. Like for an extrovert, it'll be 50 milligrams of dopamine that got released. For you, it'll be 5 milligrams. So like,
right.
okay, 5 milligram ke liye kaun itna mehnat karega?
Very interesting because it's like modulation. Did you watch the marijuana stream with Tanmay?
I didn't actually. I'm so sorry.
No,
I
that's okay. But
mother
then,
of two.
so we talked about this molecule called anandamide and how it is part of the endocannabinoid system, which is part of the feedback loop. And one of the roles that the feedback loop does is modulation. So, like you said,
Neuromodulator.
5 milligrams of dopamine would have, it's not like this will have a fixed amount of effect. The amount of effect depends on that feedback loop, that
Right,
reinforcement. So,
right,
definitely over a course of time, this consistent loop will keep changing because of what is the effect you are having.
right.
Amazing, amazing. Okay. So now that we
So,
have spoken of this,
hmm,
since we have spoken of this, I'll,
hmm,
I'll add a little bit of what I have read also. In
hmm,
that, it's like there are two axes.
hmm,
One is the positive feedback.
hmm,
When you are sitting at home and reading a book, how much pleasure you're
hmm,
getting,
hmm,
versus if you're out in a club and hanging out with friends, how much pleasure you're getting. The
hmm,
second is the punishment axis. So,
hmm.
how much are you threatened
Right,
by staying alone at home versus going out in public and seeing a lot of faces?
right.
So, if your dopamine axis is higher than your punishment axis in either one, you will tend to go towards the other one,
Choosing the lesser of the two evils. Like
choosing the lesser.
both may be right, right. Both may be distressing, but you choose the one that is less distressing, right?
Hopefully,
So
both are not distressing and one is just better than.
right, right. No,
Yeah,
so over time, it'll get better.
yeah,
Initially, it may be distressing, but because of the feedback, it'll get better.
yeah.
So now this is actually what is different in the brains of introverts and extroverts.
Hmm.
While it was being studied, I wish I could draw, but like I said, I'm pretty challenged. I become anxious with the thought of drawing and all of that, maybe sometimes.
It's okay. What is
So
that personality type, by the way, when you are really threatened
I
by the act of drawing on public?
post motherhood personality types. You become anxious at anything. So, anyways,
Yeah.
when you talk about introversion and extroversion as two separate categories, what happens is you almost make one mountain and then you show that there's a big, valley and then another mountain. Like, ya to aap introvert ho, and there's a set of extroverts.
Hmm.
Whereas in reality, the maximum population, like everything in psychiatry, is studied in the form of the bell curve.
Hmm.
I'm so sorry, I wish I could draw this. So it's a bell shaped curve,
Wait.
and the maximum,
I can. I think I can help out with that. Like I can at least draw a little bit and show
yeah, so it's a little
what.
more visual for the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people here.
So everybody fits into
The bell curve.
the bell curve. So this will be the normal range, sort of.
Right, right. Yes, yes. So what they said was like the maximum number of people will actually fit in the center, like in this middle portion of the bell curve,
Yeah, yeah.
which would mean that maximum population is actually ambiverts,
Hmm.
which is also such an irony because we are so busy classifying everyone as introverts and extroverts,
Yeah,
whereas introverts would be this spectrum, extroverts would be that spectrum,
yeah.
and the maximum population will be ambiverts.
Hmm.
And the way we classify it, it would be like two mountains, which
Yeah.
does not, from a scientific point of view, it makes no sense. You can never have, or you cannot have acceptable standards where you have two peaks, it would have a range.
Right.
So, this is what we need to understand that introversion and extroversion are kind of, I think it is based on half knowledge of all people around. If you really have more knowledge, you'll realize that most of us have the ability to truly be a little bit of an extrovert at times and a little bit of an introvert at times.
Correct.
There's a wonderful thing that is also said in psychology, which is situation based.
Mm-hmm.
So, our traits, I think, Siddharth, you can let this go unless
Yeah.
you want to talk about the
No,
neuroscience
no,
bit.
we are done. Yeah.
So, so uh, it's said that depending on the situation that you are in, your traits will be shaped that way. So if someone is in a very, very hostile environment, if someone is in an environment where the parents are very unpredictable and are very inconsistent in their parenting, then that environment is very stressful for the child. So he would develop anxious traits.
Hmm.
Whereas if someone is in an environment where, so in a situation constantly where there's a lot of openness and where there's a lot of acceptance,
Yeah.
that child will be a lot less anxious, will be a lot self-secure.
Yeah.
So how we are, like whatever we are, those traits develop not just because of the genes, not just because of the other environmental factors, but also because of the situations that we are in repeatedly. Like not the
Correct.
pervasive. I oversimplified it by saying the household, but it also depends on the situations you are at
School.
school.
Yeah.
So,
Friends.
right, right.
Everything.
So initially we would have like one competition in a year. Now children have something every 15 days where they go on a stage. So quite naturally you would imagine that 10 साल पहले इतने सारे लोग स्टेज पे नहीं जा पाते थे, but
Hmm.
10 years from now everyone will be very comfortable on a stage.
Hmm. Absolutely. The idea that we, right from childhood, we try to divide everything into comfortable versus threatening. Yeah, this is such a inherent part of the brain development, and the more things we find threatening in childhood, the more it's almost like your amygdala is now more sensitive to threats. So everything can be a
It's a
threat.
hyperactive amygdala.
So then everything
Right.
can be a threat. So then as you grow up, that can become a trait, and then that can lead to a personality type.
Oh,
Yeah.
true, true. Wish to
Hmm.
chat with us. Is there something they want? Otherwise, I'll keep on talking.
Yes. So they are finally happy that drawings OP is happening. So uh, somebody wants to know, marijuana is a fake and unstable key to your brain. Oh, David Datta, that's a good way of saying it, actually. Introverts, Abhishek Katuria said that introvert with strangers, extrovert with friends, which is, I think that that is part of
Ambivert.
the ambivert spectrum.
Ambivert. Yeah.
Yes. Can you, Anand has asked, can you be selectively introvert or extrovert?
Uh,
मुश्किल
I
है.
don't think you can have so much control on your brain. It's not a choice you make based on conscious decisions.
Yeah.
You can, I mean, if you're asking me at this point of time, can I choose to be? I think it's very difficult, but yeah, if you want to transition from an extrovert to an introvert or from an introvert to an extrovert, that is possible. But to selectively become something would be very difficult because you can't regulate your brain so much, not within such rigid limits.
Hmm. Yeah, because I think that we can change our behavior, but step one would be knowing why is your behavior
Awareness,
a particular type in the first place. So if you
awareness, just being
awareness,
aware of why it's happening.
correct, which is why we are doing this. We are
Why we are doing this,
helping
absolutely.
helping people and ourselves also, because a lot of this is new to me as well. So the more you are aware of why we are the way we are, the more it's like you're being handed the keys to changing yourself. Otherwise things are just happening without you knowing why.
But awareness also helps in acceptance.
Hmm.
We have to know that accepting yourself, like awareness will help you accept yourself. And if you still want to change, then help you change
Correct.
yourself.
Hmm.
But I think the key lies in self-acceptance. There's no more peaceful place than being self-accepting.
Amazing.
Then knowing that, okay, this is what I am. And if I still want to change, I'll try.
Amazing. I love that thought, because if you aren't, if you're aware and you haven't accepted, that is again a source of distress, and nothing good comes out of distress. I feel
Ever.
that you can change whatever you want, but when you're in distress, a large part of your brain is now working on something entirely different, and you are not really able to control it. So step
Right,
one is
right,
to take care of the distress part, and then you can do whatever you want with your brain.
right. Totally.
I love that. Roshan has asked if we can do a session on personality types.
We'll do that. It's honestly, me and Siddharth have been planning it for a while, but it's
Yeah,
pretty elaborate. And
yeah,
I don't know how to make it non-medical. I don't know how to make it like non very technical, you know.
yeah,
So once we feel a lot more comfortable that I think we've created a certain base
yeah.
in terms of personality, then of course we'll do it. It's very
I
interesting.
think this discussion has laid the base a little bit for us to go there. So
Yes,
probably we can do that for sure.
yes.
Lavina's
So
asked.
someone has.
Yeah, tell
Okay,
me.
go ahead. No, you asked this question, then I'll go ahead with that.
Yeah, Lavina said that sometimes I enjoy chatting with people and giving gyan, but other days I prefer to put in some distance and just reflect on self. I need time for both. Lavina, that sounds super healthy. I think that is
It's good.
how it
It's
should be.
it's That is exactly how it should be. It's very nice because, see, an extrovert is always going to keep engaging his energies in the outside world. And so there are many benefits of being an extrovert. But the problem is that you never really come to terms with what you are truly. And when you are deprived of that external world, you really don't know what to do. And,
Hmm.
then you don't even know what you are. You don't know how to engage yourself. And these are some predisposing factors for a lot of psychological issues.
Yeah.
So, whereas if you have the ability to be an extrovert at certain times and an introvert at certain times, which only means that you constantly need this time off to connect with your own self, to have some
Yeah.
introspection, which Siddharth seems to be doing right now,
Yeah,
self
no,
reflection.
I again, this is such a great thing because it fits in with all the things that we have spoken about in learning to learn and in
Hmm.
discipline and failure. Because if you completely cut off society,
Hmm.
you are cutting off feedback loops.
Right.
So all the things that you're doing, society is getting affected by them. But if you are saying that I don't want to hear any feedback, मुझे
Hmm.
सुनना नहीं है, like I don't care
Hmm.
what you think, I don't want any feedback, then you are not getting any information in return. So
Right.
if you're not getting feedback, then you can't grow,
Right.
or
Right.
rather your growth is not ideal, because feedback is where you,
Restricted. It's restricted.
it's restricted. But if you're only getting feedback and you are not getting any time for yourself, then you won't have the time to use that feedback, so also
Totally.
you don't grow.
Totally. So I'll quickly
Wow.
give an example of a person who is into business. And so his initial way was to keep on gathering information, data. Itna ye jata, itna wo jata, itna tons ye jata. And I was like, you just keep on gathering data,
Yeah,
but you're not really practicing on how to improve your own product. Then
exactly.
the insight happened. He started, making too much product and forgot completely about the data. It has to be a good balance of both. You need
Correct.
the feedback and you need the self reflection so that you grow. And like
Hmm.
you said, okay, let's assume I completely cut off from the society and I'm growing. For a while, I'll probably grow because I still have some residual feedback mechanisms in my own brain, but we also need a lot of reinforcement. So if the reinforcement is not happening, either the good habits will go away or the bad habits will persist. So
Yeah.
both reinforcements are very, very important. Unless you have, that's the importance of a guru, right? I mean, a guru will tell you what is right and what is not right. Otherwise, everyone can learn on their own. But someone who tells you this is the right method to do it and this is
Hmm.
not the right method to do it is so important. And that's
Hmm.
what society does a lot of times.
Yeah,
If we
society is the initial guru, because I mean in the all the little things, like if a child steals, then society will find out some way to tell that child that this is not the right way. Now they can say this in different ways, like they could punish very harshly or they could be very gentle, but that correction is necessary, because otherwise how will the
Totally.
child know?
Very true. Very true. Very
Right. Amazing. Okay. I think I missed a super chat in the middle. Nishant Vengani has said that I personally find Carl Jung's theory, especially his conception of cognitive functions and the functional stack, absolutely ingenious, but it gets a bad rap because of its oversimplified use in MBTI. Nishant, that is very insightful. I haven't read enough of Carl Jung, but I do know that some of his theories were really ingenious for sure, because
true.
the
Definitely.
cognitive functions and even his idea of the psyche, the idea of the
The
self-conscious.
collective unconscious and all of that.
Exactly.
Uh, I love his work, but if I were to, if I may, I mean, share my personal opinion, I think it came from his own personal difficulties as a child
Yeah,
because his father used to be very unwell, and of course, every theory in psychiatry has come from a personal space
of course.
somewhere,
How can it not?
right?
Yeah,
How can it not? You only derive from your own experiences.
right.
But I feel my personal opinion is that I feel they were a little biased.
Hmm.
I think they were very colored with his own experiences.
Right.
So with utmost respect, I may not completely agree to
Huh.
what he said,
Not
but few
everything.
bits,
Yeah.
right, right. But few bits definitely were very,
Yeah.
very profound.
The collective consciousness thing had really impressed me, because it
It's
at some,
something,
yeah, it's something very it's something that you
Unusual.
also think of sometimes. You think this is something that is there, and it's very nice to see that okay, it has been thought of and it has been written about.
It's something so unusual to be put in words. Like you
Correct.
don't even know. You can't tell yourself that what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking is right. To have the courage to actually put it down in words was something very admirable.
Amazing. Okay.
Okay, so I was gonna come to this question.
Yeah.
Someone, I'm sorry, I don't know, I don't remember who, but someone wrote on my Insta post that I have gone from an extrovert to an introvert
Mm-hmm.
over the years,
Yeah.
and I can so say that I completely have lived the experience of being an absolute extrovert to now being an introvert, and it's actually a real phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenon that actually has a name called intrinsic maturity. So
Okay. Very
when
nice.
you're
That sounds
younger,
super cool, huh? Just
right?
because you went through it.
No, I mean it's a real phenomenon.
Sure.
You know,
Chat, can you
I
just
really
confirm that that is a real phenomenon? Okay.
you're doubting me now. No, not
Maturity.
down.
Matlab, what about the people who have gone the other way?
That is also intrinsic maturity, I believe. That is also understanding that okay, I think it's good to be an
You
extrovert.
confirm that right now because that's what I went through.
So that is attacked, right? Okay,
Then
only
what?
you what you beat is good. And this from Kakya. So
Okay, tell me.
I'm not entirely sure if the other way around is actually named intrinsic maturity, but this way definitely. So, and I loved what they explained actually.
Hmm.
They said from an evolutionary point of view, when you are younger, your primary goal is to find a mate, right? So you definitely want to be more social and you definitely want to be engaged more with other people so that your chances of finding a mate are higher. But once you've found a mate and once you have a family and all, then the whole drive kind of goes down to be so
Hmm.
social. And I mean, that is just one aspect. What they said was when your social identity is still forming when you're younger. So there's a higher need to
Engage
meet
more with
people,
society.
engage, and
Right.
get more and more feedback. But
Right.
at a certain age, which I can also identify with, like at 20, I hadn't achieved so much. So I can understand if I wanted to constantly be around people and get that validation from them. I
Yeah.
don't think that was the only reason, but a part of it would be true.
Yeah.
But at 35, I'm not 35, I'm just saying, okay, like I'm not revealing
Okay.
my age, but no, I'm not revealing my age. I'm just saying, like, for someone who's at 35, they would have enough achievements, whatever they are, they would know that, okay, I've reached somewhere. I'm
Right.
definitely a little ahead than what I was at 20. So
Hmm.
then I think the whole need to go out and constant validation will also go down, right?
Yeah.
And also your body is kind of become slow, so it's understandable.
Ouch. Okay. Wait. Um. Completely get the first part. The yeah, when biologically speaking, initially you do need to learn more. So you are children are inherently curious in general. In their comfort zone, in their house, children are very curious. They want to touch everything. They want to put things into their mouth. They want to go everywhere, and that curiosity will continue in your formative years. And I also get the part of relationships that there is a biological need to interact with more people. And later on, this part I'm not fully in agreement with, that later on you you have to be more introspective. Like for sure you have to be more introspective, but then learning continues as long as you're alive, ideally.
No, it's not introspection. It's just that the need to constantly be around people is
Hmm.
reduced. That does not necessarily make them introverts. That does not make them
Hmm.
self reflective. So there have been
Hmm.
multiple studies where they said that someone who was an extrovert at 20, even at 50, he will still be relatively an extrovert compared to the other 50-year-olds.
Got it.
So Mansi is an extrovert at 20,
Hmm.
and Siddharth is an introvert at 20.
Hmm.
If we both go ahead, like if we kind of go ahead in time, and if
Yeah.
we assess our personalities when I'm 50 and you're 50,
Hmm.
even though you may have gone from introversion to a little bit of extroversion, and I would have gone from extroversion to introversion,
Yeah.
I will still have higher traits of extroversion compared to you.
Interesting.
If I'm an extrovert when I'm young, I'll forever stay an extrovert. The range kind of gets restricted,
Yeah.
that is all, but I'll stay an extrovert.
Amazing. Okay,
So
that.
when I say extrovert to introvert, it's it's on my personal timeline. It's not relative to other people.
Correct. And this is a very interesting thing because when two people get together and say, I'm an introvert and I'm an introvert, they could be meaning very different things. Because
Based on the situations they've
yeah,
been in.
exactly. What is it? What is introversion for one person? Maybe extroversion for someone else.
Very true, very
Oh
true,
wow.
very true.
Okay.
So, in a set of introverts, an ambivert is an extrovert. But
Hmm.
in a set of extroverts, an ambivert is an introvert. So, it's so relative.
This is so true because people go from school to college, and in school they may have been an extrovert, and then when they get to college they are surrounded by people who are so outgoing that now they realize that नहीं नहीं इतना नहीं करना है मुझे, मेरा limit है. And that is sort of like a
Right,
personality check,
right.
like an identity crisis for a little while, because they think that I was the most outspoken, most outgoing person, but here these people are. And what
I'm
is
so different.
yeah, and what is interesting is everybody finds their level as normal. Anything
Yeah.
less anything less is यार ये बात क्यों नहीं कर रहा है, and anything more is ये कुछ ज़्यादा ही बात कर रहा है. That
The self tribalism, like I
yeah.
am the tribe, what I do is right, everything other than me is wrong.
Correct. So I am normal. These guys are too extroverted.
बाकी
These guys are
सब
too
गड़बड़.
introverted. Absolutely. That is so
Totally,
true.
totally.
That is so true. Okay. All right.
So,
Yeah. Tell
is
me.
the chat asking anything that we need to address?
Chat is
Because I
talking.
realized the last chat, I probably didn't end up paying attention to the questions that were there.
Yes. 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 So a Aveg. AAVEG. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But if I create a personality that is opposite of me, that would be incredible, Avej. If you can do that, if you can create a personality that is opposite of you,
It would be great, but you also have to ask yourself what's the purpose of doing that?
yeah,
Is
why are you
there a
doing that?
purpose? Yeah, is there a purpose? I mean, even introverts could do amazingly well in their lives,
Hmm.
or extroverts could do really well in their lives, unless you have a pathological personality. That's when you'll definitely need to change.
Hmm.
But otherwise, is there a reason to put yourself through so much distress, such because it's really a Herculean task. You know, it's not that easy to change your personality. It's a constant process.
Yeah.
So knowing the bits that are not very healthy and trying to change just them is the ideal way to go about anything.
Correct. So when I say that it's great that you can, I mean that if you are able to have that much level of control,
Yes,
I
yes,
don't mean
it
that you
would be an
should.
achievement.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would
because
be an achievement.
it would be very impressive that if you can have that much control over yourself that you can just modulate everything, which is for me that is like an ideal state. If you are so self-aware that everything is a choice, then that would be like an interesting
Then
state
you're
of
a
mind.
saint. Then you're a saint.
I'm a
If
saint.
if
Cool.
yeah, if nothing from the monk who sold his Ferrari, you know.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
so you could probably say the monk who sold his Mac or something of that
ए
sort.
डू नॉट तो नजर मत लगा, ठीक
I
है.
know it's your lifeline. Sorry, it's your lifeline. I shouldn't.
मैथ पे
So
मत जा,
yes,
ठीक है.
I don't know any other expensive possessions that you have. So, but yes,
Good. That's why I'm
extroversion
not
to
telling you.
don't even tell me. Extroversion to introversion is possible by conscious effort, by constantly being aware, and by understanding what are the situations that cause enough distress to
Yeah.
me. I think once you're aware of why you choose a certain thing, is it the shyness? Is it the
Yeah.
social phobia? So someone who said that I'm not very comfortable constantly talking or constantly being on the phone,
Hmm.
it could either be that you only like to have meaningful conversations and you don't like small talks, which is also a quality of introverted. मतलब बस बातें कर रहे हैं तो मजा नहीं आता है. Either it could be because of that,
Hmm.
or you're kind of conscious of your appearance when you're talking to someone, so you're not very comfortable talking to them for an hour because you can't really put up the best face for an hour.
Yeah. You have to know
Uh,
why. Everywhere.
you
This is
have
the
to know
thing. You have
why.
to know why this is happening. Amazing. Arun Dev has asked, but biologically we won't stop at finding a single mate. Isn't that a social construct to just have a single mate?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is.
And that's why humans are more evolved,
Correct.
because you are able to go against this primitive instinct of mating as often as you can, because animals do that, right? So that's why we say that we are evolved, because we are able to understand that there's a consequence to such a behavior, and it's not happened overnight. It's happened over
Very many
multiple
years.
centuries.
Correct.
Yeah, multiple centuries.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a sign of evolution. That's a sign of you being able to control such a primitive instinct.
Hmm. Because there is a social, uh, absolutely, I think monogamy is a social construct. Uh, just like everything else, just like, say, justice, equality.
Hmm.
These are all
Hmm.
social constructs, and all of
Hmm.
these constructs have been constructed for a reason, because
So
it
that
helps society work better,
right,
function
because we
better.
all have to coexist.
Yeah.
So if you were to allow polygamy, the rich, the powerful, the handsome would have 10 wives, and the one who was not so endowed wouldn't have anyone, would not have
Wow.
children at all. Like his he would not have his genes passing on to the next generation.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
that's why
This
that's
is, I
why
think, this is a
totally different
hugely
discussion.
complex, yeah. It is a very, very complex but extremely fascinating discussion, and it is something that I would
Very
love
much.
to have, uh,
Very
because
much.
this is extremely, there are so many layers to this,
Yes, yeah,
that
yeah.
to be able to talk about this suddenly in just 2 3 lines would be doing it a lot of injustice. So
Absolutely, and it's like we said, it's like you can't oversimplify it. There
yeah.
have been too many variables. You can't, but yeah, it's something that really warrants a discussion. And
Yeah.
if I may use this platform to say this,
Hmm.
I feel that there's a reason there's culture, there's a reason there's religion, there's a
Yeah.
reason all of those things. So there were thousands of rules that were there 200 years back.
Hmm.
Only 20 or 30 of them have been passed on to the next. So there are multiple filters through which these things have been passed on to us. If you look at them as wisdom, and if you try to use your own discretion and use them to your benefit,
Hmm.
then they truly have been passed on for that,
Hmm.
because they are tried and tested methods. Not everything, but a few things. But we are a generation currently that wants to ridicule everything that has come from the past,
Hmm.
and wants to try our own methods and come up with our own devices, but it comes at a price. So I'm neither a totally cultural person that would say that, okay, Joby, not a ritualistic person listening to everything that has been
Right.
passed on by rituals,
Right.
but neither am I such a person who would, like, not such a big liberal saying that everything is ridiculous and I need to find my own ways. And I think if we can say that, we should have a discussion where it would be very enriching for people to know why was it even passed on in the first
Yeah,
place.
I mean, that is the main thing, the why. I think my approach to almost every such conflicting question is, let's understand why this is happening. And as soon as you understand why, you can see that, okay, so in these circumstances this was necessary, and if the circumstances have changed, that means that those rules can
Things
change,
can change.
the laws can change, and sometimes laws have been, or these
Yeah.
social constructs have been carried forward just out of inertia. So they may have been necessary in 2000 years ago, but now
Right.
they're not so necessary, and it's
At
just
that point of
inertia
time.
that is taking it forward. So the most important aspect is
Right.
to know why this was happening. So yeah, okay.
Right.
Somebody just said PFC
Fine.
workout ho gaya, Aditya, and I just want to take this moment to announce that we are coming up with emojis on the chat for members, and PFCOP and Dopamine Kick and Limbic Lady are my first three emojis that are going to come.
Wow, that's
So
that's a milestone. Congratulations.
yeah, so that would be super fun. All members can use that. So probably by next week that should come. So I would love to see PFCOP in the chat. Okay, coming
Brilliant.
back to introverts.
Fine. So I think we've spoken most of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, there have been studies that say that extroverts are happier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like you also said, there are two reasons. So there are many reasons, but one of them is that extroverts actually end up going out and telling people and projecting the energetic self, which is perceived as being happy. Also, what happens is if you're an extrovert, you're good in the social circuits and you meet a lot of people, so you end up having better opportunities in terms of a marital prospect, in terms of workplace, this and that, everywhere. So you definitely have a higher chance at being a little more successful
Yeah.
compared to an introvert who would have probably an equal amount of intellect.
Right.
There are so many jobs that need an extrovert, like sales and this and that. So
Mm.
if you choose fields like that, and these would also be the people who put it all over the place that okay, this is my job and I enjoy it so much and all of
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
whereas an extrovert would not put it up. So
Mm.
there's a bias that happens because of selectively being shown a certain kind of information. But even like at a real level, introverts may lose out on opportunities. Introverts may not be given enough chances or equal chances where
Mm.
the field demands a certain kind of extraversion. So I think introverts should have the ability to understand what kind of jobs, what kind of environments suit them
Yeah,
so that they are able to attain their optimum potential.
got it. I kind of understand why.
Hmm,
Because
hmm,
society functions on communication.
hmm,
So society functions on give and take.
hmm.
Because otherwise everybody is by themselves. सब लोग अपना अपना
Right,
करो
right,
फिर.
right,
But
right.
society has formed because we are able to give and take information, give and take resources, give and take favors.
Hmm,
So if somebody says, I am not going to interact much with society, then that is a two-way thing.
hmm, hmm.
Then society would be like, okay, we are not going to interact much with you.
Right.
And if that is okay, then great. But then
Hmm.
usually this is why I think what you're saying makes sense, that extroverts might get more jobs, more this, because the more you interact, there's more give and take of everything. Awareness,
Right.
knowledge. So for
Yeah.
society to know that such a person exists, that person has to go out and inform society that I exist.
You have to display yourself.
You
You
have
have
to
to
display
show that I'm
yourself.
there.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. That, I mean, it makes sense from a very, very broad perspective, but in a single person story, it sounds unfair.
It
Because
sounds
just,
unfair.
yeah, because somebody may be very qualified to do something, but just because of a like their personal preferences of how to engage with society, it seems unfair that they don't get that job. But from a very broad perspective, it makes sense.
So that's why the specific job profiles. I mean, if we just talk about the jobs, that's why specific job profiles. I mean, an introvert going out in a sales field will find it so distressing because he has to talk to 20 people all the time, which is so not him. It may be very challenging for that kind of a person.
Hmm.
Whereas an introvert can actually be a very good husband or a very good partner because
Hmm.
he can. I'm not saying exclusively
Yeah,
introverts
yeah.
only, but they can, right? They can. So
Also,
also,
do you think that, but jobs are different? Like, do you think that
hmm,
even if somebody identifies as an introvert,
hmm,
if it's their job to speak to people,
hmm.
maybe they can disconnect that from their personality, because it's not like you're investing your emotions into, it's not like you're hanging out with a lot of people at a club.
But you still have to be good at communicating. You still have to keep on talking.
Hmm.
If you're inherently not, if you don't enjoy it so much, you
Hmm.
might not do enough work. You might not give them enough sales, and you might not get the feedback that you want.
Hmm.
So
Maybe.
either directly or indirectly, it may lead to burnout.
Hmm.
Even if you may not, आप कभी ना कभी burnout हो जाओगे compared to someone who's always been talking a lot. So I mean, you would know this. There are a lot of people who come and promote a lot of their products, right? Ye le lo, wo le lo. You can see some have a natural knack of talking and an ease around the customers, whereas some are not so much at ease. So the distress
Yeah,
shows. So
sure.
this distress over time will, lead to burnout.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying
Either
that people
burnout
who
or
are
they will adapt, like they will learn, they will become a little
they
bit.
learn. They yes.
Yeah,
If you learn, it's fantastic. If you learn, it's amazing. But
yeah.
if you burn out, then it's a different thing. So for people who are already in those kind of jobs, you need to adapt. That's for you. For people who are not yet there, I think you could choose a little more wisely.
Hmm. So Apurva just said something interesting, that introversion doesn't mean that these people don't like to talk. Uh, and I like that. I like that she's made a distinction between the two, because it just means that they want to be very more selective in creating the environment where they can talk.
Right,
Right?
right. Which we
Hmm.
said before that it's not like they can't talk. It's
Yeah.
not like they don't want to talk.
Yeah.
But they like it to be meaningful. They can't
Hmm.
talk for the heck of it. They
Hmm.
don't talk to just direct the energy outwardly. They
Got it.
talk because they like having some meaning to it.
Understood. I wanted to talk a little bit about the neuroscience of personality types, but as happens with
Hmm.
a lot of our conversations, time does get stretched, and
What? time is it? It's
It's almost
11.
11. And I have sort of decided to not stretch conversations beyond an hour and a half because it does tend to get
Understandably.
draining. Huh? And then the last few topics don't get enough attention.
Right.
So I think that neuroscience of personality can be taken separately. Like connect the iPad again and then draw it and properly show it. So right. So I think that would be sensible. Can we just conclude? Can we just sort of wrap up this conversation and come up with what did we speak about and how can you apply this in your life? Yeah.
Right. So you're gonna help me,
Yeah. Yeah.
lead us in a direction. So
Sure.
I'll speak what comes to my mind. Like I generally have a tendency to just flow.
Which is
So
awesome. Mm,
thank you.
we spoke about what is introversion and extroversion. We spoke about how it is in a spectrum. We spoke about how extroversion is just one aspect of different personality types as per the oceans, the five factor, what is it called? Five factor?
Five models,
The
five
five
model
factor
theory.
model, yeah.
Yeah.
And each one of those factors would lie in a spectrum, and you could be say 17 1, 13 1, 15 1, and different. It's like a DJ's soundboard. Like you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
go up and down on different
Tune
things.
yourself up and down. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you can get control over that, you would be able to literally change your personality depending on where you want to be. And when somebody is an introvert or an extrovert, neither of those are pathological. Neither of those are a problem. It just means that there are certain things you're comfortable with and certain things you're not comfortable with. And if it becomes pathological, that because of this discomfort you are unable to do something you want, then
That's when you seek help.
yes, then it becomes a phobia or an anxiety, a social anxiety, all those things. And you should seek help, absolutely. Like you should at least identify that, okay, because of this, my life goals are being affected. So, which is unfair. It shouldn't be like that. You should have some access to help in that case. And we also spoke about where introversion extroversion comes from as far as neuroscience is concerned. You mentioned the reticular activating system, that is RAS,
And the dopamine
and the
hit.
dopamine. And I spoke a little bit about amygdala and how the amygdala is activated at different levels for different people. And
Right.
we spoke about how childhood and parenting is a big factor uh, that decides how the personality is formed.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we answered a lot of very interesting questions. And we also spoke about
Yeah.
polygamy. I don't know how.
I don't know how really. So yeah, that brings me to something. A lot of people have asked me.
Yeah.
I'm like my dad. I've taken on my father. I've
Yeah.
taken on my mother.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the question of, is personality genetic? I mean, can you inherit traits from your parents?
Right.
Yes, you can. You certainly can. But once again, just inheriting traits does not mean that you will always be like that. It's actually the environment also that's going to shape that. But you could take. So a lot of people who have anxious parents, they have some tendency to be anxious themselves,
Right.
but it can be worked on. So, like you rightly said, if I were to say something about this whole session, one is that understand that you are an introvert not because of certain deficits or not because you don't have the capacity to talk, but because that situation produces a certain kind of a different reaction, a different response in your brain, and you prefer a different setting.
Right.
Whereas it's a little different for extroverts. It's possible. I think a lot of people would want to know which one is actually better. Okay, people would
Yeah.
want to know, is introversion better or is extroversion better? So though science and data says that extroverts are happier, is what they say, because in general it is assumed, in general it is understood, not just assumed, but there have been a lot of theories that tell us that people who are more social, they tend to be a little more happier because their self-esteem, because their social identity, all of that can be a little more
Yeah.
stronger,
More
right?
validation. Yeah.
More validation is there. So that we know, and a lot of other variables which we don't want to talk about
Sure.
right now, but
Sure.
all of that can make you a little more happier. And constantly being in touch with people constantly brings about new purposes to your life. Like the purpose keep on changing,
Yeah.
purposes keep on changing, but it gives you. Whereas an introvert could probably, so introverts do have a higher chance of going into depression
Mhm.
because whenever there's a problem, they have a tendency to go into self reflection mode instead of actually trying to talk it out and take help from external agencies. So at
Mhm.
times that self reflection can also be very biased and can be full of guilt and taking a lot of responsibility on themselves.
Mhm.
So this is
Yeah.
what data says. This
Yeah,
is not
so
my hypothesis.
again, so my problem with that data is that we are saying binary. So introvert matlab we are assuming absolute opposites and then comparing.
Right,
So an
right,
introvert
right.
has no social interaction, and an extrovert has all the social interaction in the world. So in that circumstance, yes, but
Yes.
usually people are 60-40,
Right, right.
right? So
So, like how we discussed in that
the bell
Maslow
curve.
wala, yeah,
Okay,
and
yeah,
in the
Maslow.
Maslow pyramid,
Yeah.
that some people would want five basic relationships, like or five relationships to have a sense of fulfillment, and some would want 50. Identify those five. Even if you are a pure introvert, like none of us are ever pure introverts.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely would you find pure introverts or pure extroverts. You are always going to be in that range.
Yeah.
Identify those two, three, four, five people, whatever is your number, identify that and have good connections with those people because for you, that is your society.
Yeah.
So make sure that your society is intact. And for the extroverts, if it's 50 for you, make sure you have those 50 around you.
Yeah, because so one of the challenges of extroversion is that because you can have a lot of connections and a lot of them superficial because of the volume, and you may not have the time to go and
Connect with
maintain.
each one first.
You may connect, but maintaining deep
Maintain.
meaningful connections would be more of a challenge. And so in that sense, maybe introverts could be happier because they have five close friends that they talk to every week and they meet every month, and they are into that routine. And I know so many people who do that. Five sets
Yes.
of friends, they will meet, they will talk, they know everything about their each
And
other's lives,
forever. And forever.
and
Like for 30
forever.
years, 40 years.
Exactly,
Right.
which is such a sense of fulfillment that,
Which is
yeah,
healthier than having 50 superficial relationships,
amazing.
which
Yeah.
is healthier in every way.
Yeah.
So, even for extroverts, even if they like to spend their energy outwardly, even if they have 50 good friends, even they cannot maintain 50 relationships, even they bring it down to 10 or 15. So, I think finding the right balance for each one of us is very, very important.
Absolutely.
And trying to understand and accept your own personality type
Yeah.
and trying to identify as a spectator without really trying to look for flaws and perceived defects in you, how this has affected you, in what areas it has affected you, and how it could be worked on. I think that should be done. And I think a lot of times, most of us are ambiverts. So इतना ज़्यादा problem है ही नहीं. There is
Right.
no reason to try and categorize yourself and box yourself into any one category and then try to, fit yourself in that. Like if you call yourself introvert, you want to have like that tick box कि
Hmm.
ये है मुझे नहीं हो गया सब कुछ. So
Correct.
don't even try to fit there.
The idea of fluidity that we spoke about, when I spoke about fluidity with Vidit, so I had gone on Vidit's channel and we had spoken about chess, and वहाँ पे in that conversation the idea of fluidity had come, of how you need rigidity and fluidity. So you need rigidity for knowing the rules of a game, but you need fluidity to be creative, because otherwise everyone will play the same way. But everybody doesn't play the same way. There is definitely some people play better, some people play worse. So that comes in fluidity, how creative you are. So it's almost like that you you need to have fluidity within the rules of the game, so that you can go from introvert to extrovert and back depending on where you are, what is the situation.
So I explain precisely in these words to my patients, like say OCPD. So
Mm-hmm.
this OCPD person, obsessive compulsive personality people, they are very perfectionist. So that rigidity helps a lot at work, but it,
Mm.
it makes their personal life very difficult. I explain the same thing to them that you
Yeah.
need to be rigid there, but you need to be fluid here.
Correct.
So these principles, nothing like extremism in any form is always bad.
Yeah.
Everything has to be in moderation.
So
You have to be
true.
able to choose where you want to be on when.
So true. Like I know people who are from army backgrounds, And the army is a place where discipline is very, very valued, and rightly so, because you need to have that kind
Rightly
of
so.
discipline. And sometimes they bring that sort of need for discipline back home, and some of their children
And we know.
can have a tough time, because when you're growing and you're curious and you're learning new things and you're trying out new things, sometimes discipline is doesn't really
Is a
click.
hindrance.
Yeah, so it doesn't
It's a
really click early.
counterproductive thing.
Correct. So there is a lot of clashes, because
Right.
I have seen that happen, and I've realized how one thing like discipline in a particular situation may need to be a little more fluid in other situations for healthy growth.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, okay, amazing. I think let me just see if wow, wait, everyone is nihilistic in the chat. Okay, why? Aditya said, as a physician, it is sometimes tough for me because I'm an introvert, but it's like now I'm very comfortable interacting with my patients. That is so true. The more you
That's become your
interact,
comfort zone
yeah,
zone now. Like medicine has become your comfort zone now. So you'll easily become an
which
extrovert
was my
there.
point, that introverts may be able to do their job very well. It doesn't matter, even if you interact a lot, because it becomes your job.
Right,
And
right. Rightly so.
right,
Right.
so you develop like this alternative personality at
But
work.
but now, I mean, there's a variable here. In medicine, it's not what you speak that produces results. It's actually what you do that produces results.
I mean, what you speak also
To a
produces
certain
results.
extent. To a
Yeah,
certain extent. There are field with only what you speak.
yeah.
But so for a respiratory physician, it would be his work. So
Mm,
if the work is giving him dopamine hit, he has the motivation to keep on speaking.
mm.
But for a salesperson, it's only speaking. If he
You're
does
right.
not speak well and he's not selling well, there's no dopamine hit at all.
Got it.
So there are many variables, but yeah, I do understand that is also a
Mansi,
spectrum.
one day we should talk about the placebo effect.
We should totally.
That would be such a, because what you just said, a chest physician and what they do and not what they speak, I have come to this conclusion that the personality of the doctor
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the
I
amount
mean,
of,
I have to.
yeah, the amount of faith that the patient has actually changes outcome of treatment.
So I have to take my words back because I'm a firm believer of the goodness of a physician.
Yeah,
There is this term called the goodness of a physician, and I've seen it work wonders even between psychiatrists. Like
yeah,
even if you compare two psychiatrists,
correct.
the goodness of a psychiatrist, and I've heard that. I mean, from my patients, so I know it works wonders. So yes, definitely.
Yeah,
But yeah, not just that, your work also has to be good. Like you can't just be talking
of
well and
course.
throwing up the pills. Yeah,
Yeah, but what I mean is, so I have given patients a medicine when I was very, very busy and not taken the time out to explain it, and that same medicine to somebody who uh, I have taken the time out to explain it, and the effect is so different,
different. Very true.
so different. So your brain is so powerful in creating biological results because of faith, that I feel this is something that we should definitely speak about.
We should. It'll be
Placebo
very
effect would
interesting
be
and yeah.
amazing. Amazing. uh Aritra Maulik, love these streams. Thank you, Aritra. That is super sweet of you. mm, Aditya, that's so true, sir. Yes, I think all medical professionals after a few years come to this understanding that academic knowledge is important, but interaction with patients is also important.
Very much important. Yeah.
And we are not taught that. It is something that is self learned. And I feel that a lot of alternative medicine works on that principle, because there is so much faith. I have seen patients who swear by it, and even if the medicine doesn't work, their faith is not changed. They still
Right.
feel, हाँ ये तो time लगता है, ठीक है कोई बात नहीं. So that faith is very, very important. So we will talk about this. Okay, so somebody had asked multiple times about stammering, and
Hmm.
we will talk about that at some point. I will do a session on neuroscience of stammering, and yes, extrovert is Karina from the first half of Jab We Met, and
Jab we
introvert is
met.
Sherlock Holmes. Okay, I love how people are making their own correlations. I read somewhere in the chat in the middle, justice for limbic lady. I'm pretty sure Amrita started that. Uh, Let's see. Mozart introversion doesn't mean. Yeah, Chinmay 9930 justice for limbic lady. Yes, yes, limbic lady does need a lot of justice. That is true. We have so let me be clear, we are not limbic bashing over here. Okay, we are not saying that limbic isn't important and all that. I think PFC getting aware of the limbic is important.
Limbic has to be there.
Yes,
Limbic के बिना तो आप survive ही नहीं करोगे. In terms of all the instincts are through limbic. Like even
yes,
if you are uneducated, you would still know so many things. Limbic has to be there,
yeah,
but you can't be in a limbic overdrive. Limbic should be in a restricted, limited amount. That is
हाँ,
all that we are saying.
yes. लिम्बिक का अपना काम है,
उतना
but
निपटा के उसको वहां से रफा दफा हो जाना चाहिए. To let it be there for a while, it's a problem.
amazing. Don't forget to spam play guitar. Oh, so the guitar is not going to be played today because the final string broke 2 days back, and I need to change the string, and I haven't got the time yet. So yes, so as soon as I do that, we can have one. But let's do that on Insta. I think that would be more fun. Uh, okay, postmodernism is 3 weeks, no, 2 weeks later. We'll talk about postmodernism on Friday, I think 24th or 25th. And yes. I think that's pretty much it. Harshit Saxena, I love your streams. I really appreciate your work. Thank you, Harshit. That is so sweet of you. And a stream on personality types, we will do that. Chandradija said love from Mars. So that is awesome. We have interplanetary
Wow.
audience now. Uh, okay. I think we are going to wrap up. Mansi, thank you so much. You are
Thank you for having me as always.
amazing as always, guys. Remember to like the chat, remember to subscribe, remember to share the news of this stream to your friends. We need to just to remind
100K.
you, yes, 100K in 2020. Okay, okay, that's how we are going to do it. See you all. I will see you all
Bye,
on, oh
chat.
yes, Wednesday we are doing something new. We are doing something called Teach Me in 15 Minutes.
Oh,
And so on Discord, we have a separate channel. So there are a lot of people who have applied. So we are going to call 4 people, and 4 people are going to teach the subject of their choice in 15 minutes. So that in 1 hour, we would have learned 4 entirely new topics. So
wow.
just to, as a spoiler alert, we are going to talk about cooking. We are going to talk about
Uh-huh.
rehabilitation. We are going to talk about poker and how to play poker. And we're going to talk about chalo, one topic I'll leave for mystery.
That's quite a range.
Exactly. It doesn't matter.
Diversity.
Anyone,
No, it's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
come teach anything. The Discord channel Shubham is in the description. You can join there, and yes, I'll see you on Wednesday. I love you all. I shall see you soon. Bye.
Okay, tada. Bye, everyone.